Thanks everyone for being on this call tonight. So as you can see on the screen, I'm calling this presentation Financial Freedom, and I'll go through it. I'll talk about GPS. This presentation, this is for financial education only. It's not financial advice. If you need financial advice, you can call your broker dealer. It's really to empower you tonight, right? And the views expressed are mine. I represent a number of different organizations. This is a Bruce Scott thing that we're doing tonight. All right. So why a discussion on money? I'm going to go through these points very, very fast and get to the meat of the matter, right? But why a discussion on money? If I had more time, I could tease you guys and say, hey, we're going to raise your hand, but we have quite a bit to go through. So number one, family. An amazing story in the book of Kings where the husband died and the family went. You guys, you know that story, right? With the widow. And of course, you know the story. You have solid Bible teaching at your church. The husband died. It's a sad story, but just a quick reason why this is such a huge topic. Husband died and the family went into a tailspin. Thank God the wife sought godly wisdom, and through some creativity and willingness to do something different, get those jars, they were able to turn their situation around. Community. We need money to help our communities, right? The Good Samaritan would not, in a sense, be remembered if he never had some goods. And so there are lots of needs in our community. And notice he helped the man. He saw the need. The man could not speak. His lifeless body cried out. That's what he heard. And he stopped in his SUV and helped him. That's the standard that we need to give, right? See somebody in need. Who is my neighbor? That was the context of that story. And of course, ministry. Amazing passage in the book of Luke. Susanna and Joanna and these women gave out of their means to support Jesus's ministry. So 3 quick reasons. So this discussion is about how do we manage the portion of money that we keep? We are to be good stewards. An amazing passage that was read earlier. All right, so just a bit of context. So what I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to talk about money management. I'm going to take some of the concepts from the book, interesting stuff that I think you like. So why did I write this book? Number one, financial literacy. They don't teach this stuff in school. And I saw a study in the US. It says 40% of high schools in the US teach money management. That means 60% don't. In Jamaica, based on my research, it's probably worse. So this knowledge is needed. I can't tell you the number of individuals, even today. But this young man is like 15, 16, literally like 2-3 hours ago, his mother and him stopped by the house. And he came and he said, Bruce, oh my God, I'm reading the book. It's amazing. And that makes me feel so good. All right. And then there are lots of persons who are living paycheck to paycheck. The book is meant to help you to get a sense of hope and direction. So you will not, when you read the book, your financial troubles will not go away immediately, but it's 14 steps that you will see how they can help you to get out of the sea of debt and the financial crisis that you are in. 59% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, meaning if they were to not get paid 1 week or month for whatever reason, it would create significant distress. Similar numbers, I believe, prevail in Jamaica. So I spent time and money, despite my full-time job being the head of the largest accounting firm in Jamaica, to do this project because of the need. It's a big challenge out there. And I'm so heartened when people come to me. All right. So this is what the book looks like. Right. And you can get it at Bookland. You can get it at Fontana Waterloo. And you can get it at GoFo. But this is not so much about the book. All right. So I'm going to tell you key extracts from these 14 steps that will help you to get a sense of wisdom and a sense of hope as you move forward with the management of your money. And I invested in that because I thought that background was important. All right. So I'm talking about the gift of freedom. In 1962, we gained political independence and we became free as a nation. In 1986, and you can calculate my age, I don't really care, I became a Christian the best decision in my entire life at age 14. And I gained spiritual freedom when Jesus snatched me from the jaws and the bowels of hell. Thank the Lord. I'm free spiritually. But guess what, guys? A lot of saints, a lot of people who love Jesus were not financially free. And a lot of people who are in the world were not saved and not financially free and financial bondage. I don't have time to give you all the reasons why I wrote this book, except to say people trust me a certain way. I don't know if it's because they knew I'm this young accountant, not so young anymore. I was on Ian Bourne, but people just know me all over the country. And they just tell me their money problems. And I say, you know what? I need to write this down and make it plain so that they may run who read it. Amen. So that's what this project is all about for me. It's not a money-making project. It's to help. So what do we mean by financial freedom? 3 levels. I argue in the book that there are at least 3 levels to financial freedom. I'm arguing that there's total financial freedom. Your money works for you, and you work only if you choose to. But don't get too caught up with this idea of lying down on a beach. You're not designed to lie down on a beach for the whole day. You're designed with skills and gifts and talents. So it's all I'm saying is that if you want to stop working a 9 to 5, you can use your time to spend more time on those things that could probably get you closer to your purpose or projects that you've always wanted to do. In other words, if you get to total financial freedom, you don't have to drag yourself to a job where they assault your dignity at work. And this is not a joke. Not me. I thoroughly enjoy my job at PwC. I've only worked one place in my life, and that tells you a story, right? But I know of individuals who have said, Bruce, sometimes I'm in meetings and I'm this me in front of my stuff, but I can't leave because I have the mortgage. Oh my God. Right? So how do you get to that point where your money works for you and you don't work? And I'm not talking about flying to the south of France or flying to Miami every weekend. Financial freedom is about you amassing a certain amount of money and you can live off of that money. And you are at a lifestyle that you are comfortable enough. There's a great book called The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, and he talks about the concept of enough. And us Christians, we need to remind ourselves of Paul when he says, godliness with contentment. I feel my energy going up, guys. I feel my help coming. Godliness with contentment is great gain. All right. So don't get too caught up. You just don't have to be $2 million US. You don't have to be $1 million US. You just need to be an amount of money that you can live off. And you use your time to do what you want to do. And here's another thing about total financial freedom, right? Remember now, I'm giving you 3 levels. And I argue this very strongly in the book. To get to total financial freedom is not so much about the size of your money, your income. It's important. But it is more so about what you're able to save and invest. I know that many persons are not able to save enough because of the cost of living, because your salary don't move with inflation. I understand that, and I talk about that, and I acknowledge that in the book. And so I talk about multiple streams of income and very practical ways that you can leverage your hobbies, your gifts and talents to increase your income. But be that as it may, regardless of the size of your income, it's still going to come down to your ability to save money. And I know with the time that I have, I cannot finish this presentation, and I'm not aiming to finish it because of the time, but I'm going to give you a framework that will tease you enough. And if you want to get the whole thing deep down in your soul, then you need to go grab a copy of this book. This is a hard copy version. All right, the time is going. So I won't even bother to tell you these stories, except to say the school bus driver didn't make as much as Mike Tyson, but she said her mama taught her to save money. Doesn't matter how small. And she saved and invested. By the time she reached 60, she was a US millionaire and retired comfortably. Mike Tyson, $400 million over his entire career and broke because his upkeep was his downfall because he spent more than he earned. So if you're able to save money and invest that money, not in a savings account, that's not investing. That's less than 0.5. Time is going. I think you get the point. I'm talking about total financial freedom. Let me make this point. There are many ways to invest your money so that it gets to the point where your assets work, you earn interest, you earn rental income, enough for you to live off. You can get to that point in many ways. And by the way, as I said earlier, right? As I said earlier, we must learn to manage what we have left in our hands. I gave you family, I gave you community, I gave you ministry as 3 reasons why we need to discuss money. Paul, I think, read beautifully. Was Paul? Yes. That stewardship also carries the idea of growing and not only giving. So view this as the growing part of how we manage what's left in our hands. And I'm arguing that you can grow your money through real estate. You can grow your money through investing in a private business. You can grow your money by sitting picking stocks on the stock exchange. And forgive me if I'm not defining some of these terms, but my time is very tight. I'm arguing that all of these 3 things that I listed, real estate, they require active involvement, and nothing is wrong with that. But if you want the simple path to wealth, there's a great book by J.L. Collins called The Simple Path to Wealth. And he just puts it nicely together. This is a well-established concept. But if you can set aside a set amount of money over long periods, young people, if you're listening to me, where your investment manager does the work, and you're not worried about tenants and toilets, real estate, or unions, you may not have such a big business, or GCT and tax returns in a private business. That's the simplest part. You take your money and you invest it in what we call a unit trust or a mutual fund, where other people manage that money at a small fee, and you'll be surprised how that money grows quickly over time. I have some numbers here. If you can save $100 a month, if you're here in your 20s or your 30s, especially, and you do this simple thing, $100 a month, which is about 15,000 Jamaican. And at time, 40 years look like a long time. Guys, I've been working for 32 years and I still cannot believe it. In the book, I said, the time will fly like a Concorde. It will creep upon you like an armed bandit. And this is how I know I love Jesus. When I read about the book, well, I mean, I read the manuscript 1,000 times, but, having stepped back, there are lots of biblical overtures in there. And that's my worldview, right? So no surprise. And I use these metaphors, your age, the time will creep upon you like an armed bandit. That's literature from, I think, the Proverbs. It's just down inside of me, and it came out in a book. My point here is just saying, if you can set aside, say, 15,000 Jamaican a month, and you invest that in one of these unit trusts. A unit trust is an investment where everybody puts their money together, and it's managed by a professional fund manager. That's all you need to know for now. It's not difficult to get a 12% return. These over time, they average 15, 16, 17%. If you don't believe me, which I don't think you have any reason not to believe me, you can go on the website of, I don't want to call any names, and you will see their growth trajectory. You don't have to leave your money in a savings account. All right. Let's say you move that to $200 a month. That's $30,000. Young people, if you're listening to me, you don't need to stress when you reach 65. Let the law of compound interest work for you. And if you're able to put aside $300 a month, that's $45,000. 3.6 million, anybody can retire on 3.6 million. Almost anybody can rely, on $1 million US. I'm just saying, I'm doing this presentation in reverse in a sense. I am arguing, my book argues, if you learn how to save money and you learn how to invest money, and I'm giving you one way to invest, there are many other ways to invest. You put it in unit trusts, many of them are in Jamaica. Almost all of the financial institutions have a subsidiary that have one unit trust or another. If you're a little bit older, right, and you don't have 40 years, you have 20 years, you can invest a little bit more, and you will get there. You may have to work part-time, but if you follow this rule, you can still enjoy the power of compounding in a lot of years. I invested quite a bit to argue my first point, that there are 3 levels to financial freedom, total financial freedom, where you have full control over your time And you only work a 9 to 5 if you choose to. But I'm not talking about going lining on the beach. I'm saying you use your time to do those things that will take you closer to your purpose, will allow you to just expand your community. It's not your design to be productive. All right. So don't think of retirement as lying. You're going to be bored out of your mind, so to speak. The second level in financial freedom I'm arguing is partial financial freedom. You don't have enough money that will generate enough for you to live off, but you can save money. And you have what I'm calling step aside money. All right. I'm going to open up the mic in a Paul. We can't take the silence. What do we mean by step aside money? Come on, somebody. Tell me what we mean by step aside money, or send it in the chat. Step aside money. What that mean?
Rainy day money.
All right. So you can step aside it for a rainy day. Or if the boss disrespect you too much, and you say, you know what?
Hold that.
I have 1 year save up, 1 year worth of money save up, I have to take them talk, And you just pack up your thing and put your bag under your arm and step out and being dramatic, right? But you know that in another 5-6 months, you're going to be back in the market. And that's not a bad place to be, guys, right? It's not a bad place to be. That's partial, what I am calling partial financial freedom. But guess what? The third level is what I'm calling financial bondage. And this is where at least 6 out of 10 persons are, based on a survey that was done by Charles Schwab, 2019 in the US. 59%, almost 60% of Americans live from paycheck to paycheck, meaning, I said this earlier, and I'm saying it for the emphasis, if you did not get 1 month's salary, for whatever reason, it will bring significant distress to your life. Your rent will go out of, you can't pay, you don't have any savings, essentially. All right. And there is a Jamaica survey as well, which I don't have the time to quote. And I love the scriptures. And there's an amazing picture of what I'm talking about in 2 Samuel's, a young man by the name of Mephibosheth, who grew up in a lap of luxury, and his life changed in a second because of the coup, and the servant dropped him. He was disabled, and he lived in a place called Lodibar. Lodibar is like an onomatopoeia. When you hear the term Lodibar, you know I say, that place is nice. Below the bar. That's me. I'm making that up, right? But guess what? With a little favor, I'm using this metaphorically, guys. He was invited because of a pact between himself and King David. But I'm playing with it, right? That's how he moved from Lodibar. But you too can move from Lodibar. And I'm pivoting the presentation now, right? This is why the book is called 14 Steps to Financial Freedom. I don't care if you're in Lodibar metaphorically or you're Lodibar like today. I believe my worldview, I grew up in the bowels of the inner city. I know what it is like not to have money. And so when I write this book, I write it with the full force of authority of not having. So if I can do it, the same Jesus, oh glory, can give you the wisdom, and I put the wisdom in the book. Like Elisha gave the woman the wisdom, and she did stuff differently. Now, you don't need to put this in the chat. What level of financial freedom are you? Total, do you have enough money so you don't have to work? Partial, if you have any step aside money, or you're in financial bondage. Whichever level you are, we're going to give you hope. And this is where I'm going to touch. We don't have the time, and it was never designed to take you through all 14 steps. But I have developed, through the grace and the inspiration of Almighty God, a methodology called GPS Your Money. I wrote the book. In the introduction, I said, this book will give you wisdom and hope as you journey along the road to financial freedom. And I'm playing with the metaphor GPS, because the GPS is something that gives you direction. And I've actually gone to Jaipur, and this is now a trademark that I have. GPS Your Money. All right. So I'm saying, if you know how to grow your money like a plant, if you ask me how to grow cabbage, me no know. That told me born, me no know, only peas me can grow when me in primary school. Too dramatic, right? Me don't know about growing. I'm not a farmer. I don't know. But in the same way that you can learn how to grow cabbage or chocho, nobody asked me them something there. You can learn how to grow your money. And it is not a sin to have money. We showed you in the text earlier. We need some goods to change some lives and to invest in some ministries. Thank God, He has blessed me. I send money to places to ministries, I like a couple, a missionary that I can't physically go. It's amazing what you can do with your wealth. So don't tell me that it's evil to have money. It's if you love money, that's the problem. Oh, glory. Getting too passionate. Too hot, Bruce. And then in the book, I argue that we need to protect our money. The storms of life will come. One day your phone is going to ring. One day you're going to get some bad medical report if you live long enough, not trying to scare anyone. And part of the way to absorb the shock is through the three things that I argue in the book. One of them is having enough insurance for your life, for your health. I talk about your property. I talk about estate planning, your will, protecting your records. And then my favorite, sow your money. Sow your money. Love thy neighbor. The money that we have is not just for us and our families, the flask and broth. And the Good Samaritan gives us the standard of giving. Who is my neighbor? Oh my God. Anybody in need. How can you say you have the love of God in you and close your bowels of compassion? That's what we need to do with our money. Set that money to work in ministries, in our communities, and in our families. I'll spend the rest of my time teasing you on how then to grow your money. The first step in the 14 steps is to learn how to diagnose your current financial health. I love to give illustrations. I'm reading 2 books simultaneously. I think I finished one and I'm going it over. I'm reading Mere Christianity, which I finished and I'm reading it over. And I'm reading The Problem of Pain, which I'm like 80% through. I'm going to read it over. And it's amazing how C.S. Lewis, he uses so many metaphors, just like Jesus, right? So I'm giving you a metaphor right here. So when you go to the doctor, and the doctor, you do a checkup, a medical, and they do your blood sugar, and they do your PSA, and they do your mammogram, and they do all these things. They're checking your financial health. And if you're going to run in a marathon, or if you're going to change your diet, you need to check your financial health so you can know what adjustments you need to make. If you have heart issues, you're not ready for that marathon. You need to get sorted out. You want to attack and build a house, or you want to send your kids to college. You need to understand how much debt you're in. You need to fix up yourself, and you can do that with your money. And I'm going to give you quickly the equivalent to what the doctors will do when they're doing a medical checkup, but I'm going to do it for a financial checkup. That's the first step in marching along the road to financial freedom. I'm going to just skip through all of that. So the first test, and clearly we won't be able to go through all of them, but I'll just tease you with the topics. The first step or the first test is your savings ratio. And that's very simple. Fancy words, but are you able to save money at the end of each month? And if you notice, I also have something that I'm calling life events. There are at least 10 life events that we will all go through, and every single one of these have a financial indicator or implication. So when you start to earn money, you just get your job or you've been working for a while, you need to learn to save money. It is the fuel that will be needed to drive the engine of financial freedom. The target, the best practice, you need to learn to save at least 10% of your income. And I'm using a fictional family called the Goldsons, and they are not even saving. They are spending more than they're earning. That's why it's negative. That's not good. How much are you able to save each month? If you're not able to save, you are going to struggle to achieve financial freedom. I'm just going to skip through that part in the interest of time. With the fuel of savings, you are now able to achieve the other financial health indicators. Emergency fund. One day, something's going to happen with your roof. Something's going to happen with your car. You're going to have an emergency. Job says a man's life is so short, but filled with troubles. You need an emergency fund. How are you going to build that fund? You need the fuel of savings. The best practice is that you need at least 3 months living expense. So if your household requires $100,000 a month, you need to have at least $300,000 saved. That's your step aside money. All right. You have at least 3 months where you can go and balance as them boy the outer road with a set them go and hold it. Right. Savings ratio. If you don't have any savings, then you're going to have to be using a credit card for simple things because you don't have the cash. And then when the credit card comes, you're not able to pay because you don't have the savings to pay the bill. And so you're going to end up with a high debt to income ratio. This is when you add up all of your monthly debt payments, you divide it by your gross income. You don't want that to be more than 40%, maybe 50%. If it's more than that, what's going to happen is that you're not going to have enough room to do basic things. If you don't have savings, your credit score is going to be bad. Everybody who has some kind of credit, you have a credit score. We have 3 credit bureaus in Jamaica. If you call them up, you can get your credit score. And if they tell you that your credit score is less than 670, that's not good. If your credit score is not good, you're going to be borrowing at a higher rate of interest because they're going to say you're high risk. If you don't have any savings, then you won't be able to invest money towards your retirement years. Ideally, you want to have at least 15% of your income going toward your retirement savings. Many people can't start at the 15%. Most people are at 5%, but as you build up your ability to save, you can get that up to 15%, and there are lots of tax benefits to be had with that. Guys, there's the 10 indicators. I don't have the time to go through all of them in the interest of time. There are some other things that I want to say to you, right? But I'm just arguing that when you go through those 10 indicators, it will give you a picture of how healthy you are. All of these are in the book, by the way. Every single thing that I'm saying, right? It will give you a sense of where you are financially. So here's a question. And I know, you know what, at least I should just let you at least see the titles. So your retirement, your college fund for your kids. Are you putting aside money for that? Do you have proper health insurance? Medical bankruptcy is the #1 reason for bankruptcy in the US. And I believe also in Jamaica. It is your savings that's going to allow you to be able to buy a proper policy that can give you major medical coverage. If you're blessed to have it through your company, if you leave that company, you may be exposed if you don't have the savings to replace that when you leave. And even when you die, if you don't have enough life insurance, if you die young, your family is going to suffer like the family in the great book of Kings, where they never had proper planning and the husband died. He was the main breadwinner, and the widow and the whole family, they were coming for the 2 sons. They were the security for the debt. In those days, they would use their children as the security for the debt. And this woman saw that her family was about to crumble, and she went into overdrive. A powerful story. Do you have enough life insurance? So I know I rushed through that, but here's the thing. How did you do with those 10 indicators? And what's your emotional state? I was with a young professional, and I was just coaching her through some really difficult money problems. And I asked her to do the 10 health checks. Stay with me, guys. This is real. This is raw. I want you to, understand that this is a real topic, but thank God for the book. It will help you guys to navigate. Don't care how deep you are in low deep bar. And I said to her, she failed like maybe 8 out of the 10 tests. And I said, what's your emotional state? There's a link between your money and your emotions, right? She said, Bruce, I feel sad. I feel ashamed. I feel fear. I feel anxiety. That's real. That's reality. And then afterwards, we went through some difficult decisions, and she started to see the hope of getting out of her loady bar. And I asked her the question again, how do you feel? She said, I feel hope. I can see clearly now. I'm playing with that expression. So the 14 steps, she saw And she had to make some big decisions around savings. You know, that story with the widow is so amazing. That lady was willing to do something different. She was willing to take empty jars, walk around the neighborhood looking all silly. And that's what some of us are probably going to have to do. You may have to give up that fancy car and step down to a cheaper car to save money so you can pay down the credit card debt. There's nothing like having no debt. Thank God he has blessed me. I have literally no debt, no mortgage, no credit card, no nothing. And I'm saying that in context. I'm from the bowels of Southside. Had to be buying rice and couldn't buy the chicken up at Taylor Hall. I never went to UWI, but thank God they allowed me to use the study hall. And I had to juggle with the gravy and the rice. The same Jesus that helped me to leverage my gifts and talent, which was accounting, he can help you. Believe me, you're in Lodi Bar, but you are going to get your David to send for you in a different way. This is one way. I'm not saying this is some messianic figure, but it has my story in there. And your emotional state may not be so great right now, but there's hope. There's hope for you. And the book, I have a lot of scriptures that give biblical authority to the principles that I'm talking about. So this is what I'm appealing to here. You can turn it around. You can turn it around. You can turn it around. And I could say that 15 million times because I believe it from the depths of my soul. And my second point, as I look at my clock, is once you have a sense of where you are financially, just like when you go to the doctor and the doctor says your sugar level is high, stop yum so much mango one time in a mango season. That was meant to be a joke. Cut down on the salt to get your pressure down. Start walking some more. There's a treatment. So for every medical issue that you have, there is a treatment. Metaphorically, for every financial indicator that you struggle with, you need a treatment. That treatment is your goal, the financial goal. So that's how financial goals come in. A financial goal is a specific action that you set to fix one of your financially sick areas. What do I mean? I'm going to skip through all of that. The Goldsons never had an emergency fund. That was a weakness. So they need a what? A goal to build up their emergency fund. And therefore, they would need to write down, and I want you to do this. In the book, at the end of each of the 14 steps, I give you the actual actions that you need to do. And on my website, once you just take a picture of your receipt and upload that, you can download a workbook. I wish if I could print the workbook for everybody, but that's a cost that would be too much. But you can download a PDF version on my website. So don't lose the point. I'm showing you some of the secrets on how to grow your money. I love to repeat. Step 1, learn to diagnose your financial health. I gave you 10 of them. Step 2, set goals. These are the treatments that will fix the sick areas. And I am using the Goldsons as an illustration. They had a weak area of no emergency fund, and they now need to treat that with the goal. We need to build a fund of X $1,000 over the next 2 years. That's 3 times their income. You can do 3 times the income or 3 times the expense. And the principle is repeated here. I'm going to skip that. All right. But it's not just about setting goals. It's about being obsessed with these goals. I wanted to break out of rockness so bad, man. You need to read the book to get my full story. But I'm going to use this illustration to show you, like the woman. Oh, God. I need to, I preach a full message on the woman. I have a message called Facing Your Financial Giants. It wasn't about budgeting. It was just about how the woman faced her financial giant. And she was so obsessed with them not taking her children. Your house might be on the line right now with a bulldog-like blind Bartimaeus persistence. You could probably save that house. Let me make the point as I wrap up in 2 minutes. Blind Bartimaeus, if you read the historical context, I believe he deliberately positioned himself near the gate where Jesus had to pass. And you know the scriptures. It says, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. I am talking about obsessive desire here. The Bible said, the people them say, be quiet. And in the Jamaican vernacular, a blind boy, why you not shut up and stop disturb the big man? Oh my God. But here is Bartimaeus's bulldog-like burning desire to see the sunset, to see all these beautiful things that everybody keep talking about. You would think this poor blind beggar would buckle at this throng. When I saw this, and this is why it's so good to study the scriptures, when I saw this little gem, the Bible said blind Bartimaeus shouted louder. Oh my goodness. Met that wonder so keen. Jesus stopped the crowd. Give up bad man inside. I'm only saying that. Bad man for his obsessive desire. That's what I mean. That's what you need. Think of that widow. And that's what I had, but I never fully understood it clinically, like I'm explaining it to you now. Live in a tenement yard. We used to have a lot of beds. My granny had 12 children. My mother was one of them. And those 12 children had their children. And we lived as one family in a tenement yard with like 2 or 3 rooms. And I just remember the rooms had a lot of beds. And they used to sleep head and tail. Guys, I'm just saying, man, I leveraged my gift with accounting as my vehicle with bulldog-like obsessive desire, traveled to the markets in Spanish Town, Haywood Street with my granny to sell clothes. And that was my obsessive desire. Blind Bartimaeus wanted to see the sunset. I wanted to see financial freedom. Do you have it? Do you have it? My time is up. My time is up. No more stories. I'm just going to land this plane right here and say, number one, I don't know how to grow cabbage. But if you know what you're doing, you can grow your money. Diagnose your financial health. 10 indicators. It's all in the book. The weak areas, you set financial goals and you become blind Bartimaeus, bulldog-like obsessed. And with the grace of a holy God, you will move swiftly and sometimes slowly. It's okay, as long as you're moving along the road to financial freedom. And I'm going to end it right here. The second part of growing, you must learn to save money. I said that at the start. So to fund those goals, they all need savings. They need cash. Emergency fund, you need cash. Get a better health insurance, you need cash. So you're going to have to learn how to save money. Saving is the fuel. Saving is the seed. Saving is the blood that runs through your financial veins. Oh my God, my time is up. I leave you with this formula as I'm finished. This is my last slide. If you want to save money, you need to know this formula here. I'm calling it LAM. L plus A plus M equals savings. The L is learn to live on a budget. Big words. Can't explain it. Don't have enough time. A, avoid cultural influences. M, manage debt. Avoid high cost debt. Don't carry credit card debt. I'm not saying that you must not have a credit card, but that's 48%, man. If you can live on a budget, avoid high cost debt, manage debt, you will surge into savings, and you can take the savings with your bulldog-like obsessive desire like blind Bartimaeus and attack those 10 financial indicators. And then you'll be able to better support your families, support your communities like the Good Samaritan, and send them money to support your church and ministries, even more money. I end it right there.